Picture yourself deep inside an underwater cavern with no access to the immense daylight or oxygen, surviving on your own. Terrifying, huh? How about we say you're in the coldest sea on Earth, surrounded by icebergs in Antarctica? Are you wondering who does that? Jill Heinerth and her team, consisting of her partner Paul Heinerth and Wes Skiles, plan to explore the B-15 Iceberg cave in the Antarctic. Now, let's go for the coldest dive you've ever seen. For that, subscribe to our channel for more great videos. Jill and her partner Paul had been working on their project to do the coldest dive in history for an extended period of time. They were going to be the first to dive too deep into an iceberg. They presented their project with full confidence in front of National Geographic. Soon their plan was approved, and the next thing they saw was this beautiful scenic Iceland beauty before them. They were accompanied by Matt, the boat owner to the iceberg named Patience Camp. As Wes was an underwater cinema photographer, he wanted to record 1-minute underwater footage. He decided to dive on his own, but as soon as he entered the water, he was unable to cope up with the poignant coldness. He was unable to move his body an inch. He had to be brought back and given immediate medical assistance. This made Wes remain in the boat while Jill and Paul took their first dive into this mysterious water. They faced brain freeze for a couple of minutes due to the unbearable coldness of water. After a couple of minutes, their bodies adapted to this new environment. Having passed 130 feet, Jill began to panic as they could not find the caves. This prompted them to reconsider their decision, as it might cause the National Geographic world to disapprove of their project. Suddenly, Jill found a cavern to her right, moving the little blocks of ice ahead of them. They made their way into the cavern. The cave was similar to a volcanic eruption with spontaneous contrasting colors, such as orange, red, and yellow. This was home to millions of sea crabs. Quickly, the situation became horrific as these crabs began to crawl towards Jill and Paul. Suddenly, they were shaken to the core by a strong vibration. They chose to return to the entrance, but this time there was no way out. An enormous piece of ice blocked their entry. Unsure of what to do, they stayed there for a few minutes. They looked around and tried to move some little chunks of ice and crawled up to the surface. They made history by being the first cave divers in the world to dive into the iceberg. As they were seated on the boat, they got ready for their next dive in the morning. This is a great time to hit the like button. The following dive was even more frightening. Jill and Paul dived in, gathering the courage and experience they had. Everything looked stable, but within seconds huge currents started pulling them towards another side of the entrance. They tried to hold on, but the force of currents were too strong for them. They lost track of time. How will they get out of here? What happened to Wes and Matt? Are they still waiting for them on the boat? Millions of questions passed through their minds, looking at each other hopelessly. Suddenly, Jill saw a blue light. Both of them moved towards the light. After half an hour, they reached the surface but couldn't find the boat. Soon enough, Wes and Matt spotted Jill as the boat also floated along the current. For the final dive, Wes joined them to get more underwater videos. Soon the currents rushed in and trapped them deep into the cave. Jill managed to find holes made by sea fish along this large wall of ice and tried to squeeze her thumb into it to climb up. Somehow, 2 hours later, they saw the daylight. After having a meal back on the boat, they decided to go for one more dive and close the project. As they were having their meal, the cave they were just in collapsed in front of them. If they had been there inside the cave, they would have lost their precious lives. This incident made them rethink their decision and took it as a nature sign and headed back home. Would you take up this dive if you get a chance? Share this video amongst your friends whom you want to try out every adventure with.